Okay, the UN. Does the UN do more harm than good to the interests of the United States? Well, it does all harm and no good. So it's not a question of weighing. It's like, does eating poison do more harm than good than eating nourishing food? Everything you need to know about the United Nations is contained in the fact of its two governing bodies. The Security Council, including the bloodiest totalitarian dictatorship in history, and the General Assembly, which treats Angora, and any of the other pipsqueaks as equal in governing power to the United States. So the result of any UN action is what the tiniest nations and the most vicious nations decide, with the U.S. having one vote. Now, the worst effect it's had is the U.S. Commitment or involvement in an agreement to join is that the U.S. abdicated the right of unilateral self-defense, because it said we're only going to act in concert with the leaders of the other nations. And even in the case of Bush, who would have gone into Iraq stupidly, in my opinion, but nevertheless would have without allies, he couldn't do it because of the UN. So he had to have the pretense of allies in that war. And that is simply a reflection of the same thing that the UN stands for. Everything has to be compromised, negotiated. If somebody wants to slaughter the Israelis, then they have to sit down and discuss how many frontiers should they invade, etc., etc. What should they do to Iran? It's everything is watered down to nothing or controlled by evil. I can't think of anything they have done. Have they prevented a war? That is a joke. They are advocates of violating rights. The whole thing is a collectivist enterprise. Now you say, well, what about distributing food to the poor? And I say that is of no use. In fact, it's harmful. You know Aristotle's story about if you give a man a pair of shoes, you helped him for the moment. But if you teach him to be a shoemaker, then he's set for life. And the same is true with all the products of civilization, of production, of capitalism. It's no use giving people food because they'll be hungry next week or next month. We're not teaching them, at which we should, how to produce it themselves. Therefore, all you're doing is perpetuating this starvation that they're going to incur indefinitely. So it's actually harmful, even if it removes the pangs from one undeserving stomach. But of course, the United States can't take any of those views that I imply because, it's got to be altruistic. It has to be part of the group, etc. The net effect of the UN is that a proper foreign policy for the U.S. is impossible, so long as that's regarded as a noble institution.